Greetings, one and all. At the time of this video's release, the Elite Ice Hockey League pre-season has begun, which means that we are very close to the regular season being back in our lives. Hockey's almost back, folks, we're almost there. And you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. With a new regular season comes a new set of predictions on who will win the Elite Ice Hockey League for the 2017-2018 season. Now, I will start off by saying that my knowledge of the Elite Ice Hockey League is somewhat limited, as it is very tough to keep up to date with the players coming and going in the league and knowing everything about them and how they play, and I'm sure my prediction will probably be wrong in the eyes of most of you viewers anyway. But this is just my opinion, so you are allowed to disagree, and I don't mind seeing your disagreeing comments, as long as they're not abusive, in the comments below. Do feel free to let me know who you think's going to win. And chances are I will probably get it wrong anyway. So let's get into the prediction! It's only right that we start from the bottom of the league table and finish at the top. And I think the new teams in town, the Milton Keynes Lightning and the Guildford Flames, will put up a fight, but I think they will ultimately fall to the latter end of the standings table because of their lack of EIHL experience and the fact that they are now going up against the best players in the country and some noticeable talent from around the world. I think Guildford will be last and Milton Keynes at 11, just because Milton Keynes made better player acquisitions in the off-season in my opinion. But let's be honest though, the EIHL is a completely different ball game to the Premier Hockey League, so I think it will be a hard first season for both of them, as they haven't really experienced anything like the EIHL yet. However, I think they will turn some heads and make it difficult for teams to take wins from them, especially when Milton Keynes and Guildford are playing at home. But I think they'll need a few seasons to learn the ropes of the league before they become a competitive set of teams. So I'm placing Guildford at number 12 and Milton Keynes at number 11. Then we move on to the lower middle of the table, where I think it will be populated with the Coventry Blaze, the Manchester Storm and the Edinburgh Capitals. That is where I think these three teams will sit. These teams had all pretty poor seasons last year, and with the moves they made and the players they lost over this off-season, I doubt that things will be much better for them this year. Edinburgh especially, who were 10th and last place in the league last year, will have a tough time in my opinion, and will likely sit in 10th again this year, using the inexperience of the newer teams to not be last and take a bit of an advantage. Coventry similarly had a poor season, and it looks like they lost more than they gained on paper, so I can't really see them competing for a higher spot when you compare their rosters to other teams in the league. And finally, the Manchester Storm has gradually gained ground every year that they have been in the league, but they haven't played well enough to be a top team in any year. When I say they gained ground, they went from last place to second from last, if you know what I mean. And they haven't really played well enough to be a top team, and I think that will continue into this season. So I'm putting Edinburgh in 10th place, Coventry in 9th place, and Manchester in 8th place. Very much like last year. Then we have the middle of the table, which will be populated by the rest of the Scottish batch. The Fife Flyers, the Dundee Stars, and the Braehead Clan. These teams all had pretty good showings last year, with each of them making the playoffs. It's quite difficult not to when the 8 out of the 10 teams made it. But I think the playoffs started to show how these teams really responded. Braehead were out in round 1 by the lower seeded Dundee, and Fife were easily taken out. These teams have good core groups of players, but compared to other teams who did better than them last year, I think they come up a little bit short with their roster changes, also being compared with other teams, especially the league winners and other top teams. I just don't think they're there compared to some of the bigger teams. They haven't quite made it, if you know what I mean. They're kind of in limbo at the moment. They're three teams that they've got some solid players on their roster and they can compete, but they're just not quite there yet. They get about halfway and then it's like, we're just not good enough. So I'm going to go with Dundee in 7th, Braehead in 6th, and Fife in 5th. I'm going to go with Fife going over Braehead, Dundee in the same place as last year, because Fife had a pretty good playoff series against Braehead last year and took them out of the first round of the playoffs. So I think that Fife deserve a bit of credit for that. Then comes the number 4 spot, who I think will go to the Belfast Giants. The Giants were second last year in the league and had a very good season by any stretch, but I think their roster changes this offseason have let them down somewhat in trying to stay competitive with other top teams. So I think it will be close, but not close enough. I think that will be the sort of situation for Belfast. They'll be so close to doing really well, but just not close enough, which is a shame because that has been the outcome for the last few years for the Giants. So I'm putting Belfast at number 4. Then comes the top 3, and the only teams left are Nottingham, Cardiff, and Sheffield. Now, I found this to be a very tough choice, I must admit, as all 3 of these teams could win the league very easily due to the talent that they have on their roster. I think it could go to any 3 of these teams. However, I do need to make a choice for this prediction, so at number 3, I am putting the Sheffield Steelers. Now, I know they won the playoffs last year, and they were in the Challenge Cup final last year, and they were 3rd last year as well. And they've kept a huge chunk of the roster from last year intact, so all the signs point that they will at least do as well as they did last year. But I think they lost a few key clutch players for them who came up with the big plays they needed to when they wanted to win the playoffs and wanted to get to the Challenge Cup finals. I think the likes of Ratchuk, Ferreira and Desbiens leaving the club leaves a hole that their small list of incoming players may struggle to fill. However, I do think Sheffield will compete for the top spot because they have a history of success in recent years and have a strong core of players who will keep them competitive for as long as they stick around. So, the Sheffield Steelers are at number 3 on my list. Then at number 2, I have placed, drumroll please, at number 2 is the Nottingham Panthers. Nottingham probably had the best off-season of any of the EIHL teams in my opinion, and could be strong favourites to win the league. With the return of Evan Mosey, or Ivan Mosey, however you wish to call him, he's a great player, it doesn't matter. The debut of Jan Suave and the return of their most of their core players in Robert Farmer, David Clark and Robert Lakovic, I think they could play well, and they could well compete for a league victory, and I certainly would be happy to see that as a Panthers and Steelers fan myself. I may be a little biased with this choice and the Sheffield choice, but Nottingham have become a much better team than last year with Mosey coming back, Suave coming back, or Mosey coming back and Suave joining the team, Josh Sharler as well. I think they've got some good guys there that are going to help this team compete. There's no denying that this team has become much better than last year in Nottingham. So, the Nottingham Panthers I'm placing at number 2 on my list. And that means at number 1 we have the Cardiff Devils. After winning the league and the Challenge Cup last year, but losing in the finals of the playoffs to the Sheffield Steelers, look for Cardiff to come back with a vengeance by winning the league back-to-back and trying again for the triple championships in the hopes of this time clinching that triple. The Devils also get bonus points for managing to keep 15 players who were on the team last year back for this season, which is a number almost unheard of in the Elite Ice Hockey League. And the players they picked up, the small amount of players they picked up, should complement one of the strongest core groups in the entire league. So as league champions, I have placed the Cardiff Devils once again. And there you go! That is my prediction for the Elite Ice Hockey League's 2017-18 season. Who do you think will win the league this year? Also, do you want to see more EIHL videos on this channel? I'm hoping to get a Challenge Cup prediction video sorted soon and look to do more Elite League videos throughout the year, including the potential for a weekly podcast rounding up what happened each week in the league. So let me know in the comments below what you think about those ideas and how much you disagree with my predictions. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.